put no ring up on it till I put my finger on it. Cause it's just something about you, right?
Hey y'all, welcome to episode 3 of Indie Music Shorts, brought to you by Indie Music Streams, the platform by an artist for artists. I'm your host, Mechelle Williams, and I'm here with our guest, Emmitt James. Welcome, Emmitt. Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Of course.
So, tell me about yourself. I've listened, I think I told you before, I've listened to several of your songs, really feeling your music, really feeling the vibe.
Thank you.
How would you, first of all, how did you get started in music?
I feel like it's a classic story. I started writing poems first. I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school, and I had a crush on this girl. Her name was Tamara Lynn DeLise. It was this cute Puerto Rican girl in my class, and I wrote my first 5, maybe 10 poems about her. But she still has these poems, by the way. So
and you're still connected with her then too.
Yeah. We talk here and there. I'll hit her up on her birthday, and be like, "Happy birthday" or whatever. So then I started writing poems, and then I got into spoken word, slamming and competitions and stuff. And then from there, my junior year, I made my first mixtape, and it had poetry and music on it. So yeah, 2010. Yeah, 2010, I think I made my first mixtape. Yeah.
Cool. And you've done several projects since then, right? So that was your first mixtape, but I think I remember reading that you have 4 albums and 13 EPs.
Yeah, I make a lot of short conceptual projects. So I like to be very conceptual and tell a story in a short amount of time. So a lot of my projects I released in the last few years are EPs. There'll be 4, 6, maybe 8 songs. But the last album I made was in 2019.
And how would you describe your sound?
Normally when people ask, I just say hip hop jazz, just as a quick descriptor. Especially if I'm promoting a show or inviting them to a show to give them an idea, I might say hip hop jazz and R&B, just to be cutesy. But usually it's under that umbrella. Every once in a while I might venture off into some funk or some trap, but usually I'm kind of in that hip hop jazz pocket.
I think that's a good descriptor. I was
gonna say, what would you call it?
Hip hop jazz, for lack of a better term. When I was listening to some of your songs, a lot of them do have a jazz beat, you rapping over a jazz inspired kind of beat.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. When I was listening to it, it really felt like you're easy to listen to, and the kind of artist that made me think about that is Common or
Nice.
Gambino, and then kind of Andre 3000, because a lot of your songs had a comedic aspect to it.
Yeah.
I definitely laughed out loud a couple of times.
Yeah.
I was listening to Halitosis Berry.
Yeah.
And that whole concept was really funny. Literally, my husband looked at me because I had my headphones in, and I was like, this dude is hilarious. And then even just looking at the Couldn't Tell video, and at the end it's your mom yelling you better not be on my phone, or get off my phone, or whatever it was. There's always a hint of comedy there. So yeah, there's this light kind of aspect to your music. Not that you don't talk about serious topics too, but there's it's really enjoyable to listen to, if that makes sense.
No, that's good to hear. I started that way with the poetry too. So in the poetry scene, I'm not sure if you're familiar or how it was in California, because I grew up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And a lot of the poetry scene, all the poems were depressing and sad. Stories that needed to be told, people being abused or raped. It was just, everything was heavy. And so I always made it a point, and not that I didn't do poems like that, but 80% of the time I was doing something that, even if it was heavy, I would put some comic relief in the beginning to get people's attention, or something like that. For example, I had a poem called, I'll give you a couple titles. Last Night I Made Love to a Mexican. And so the poem, the heart of the poem is about immigration and my stances on it. But in the beginning, I shocked people with that title, being like, okay, where's he going with this? Or I did a poem called Letter to the Girl in My Class with the Flat Chest. Like, just titles that get people like, wait, what? Or what's another one? 19 Reasons You Just Can't Be Bae Right Now. So just like stuff like that. And then it kind of spills over into the music, just being what I like. My goal as a hip hop artist is to be able to draw people who love hip hop, but also get people who like maybe don't listen to hip hop or only have one understanding of it, and then they'll hear it and then they'll be like, oh man, I thought I didn't like this kind of music, but I like this. I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, totally. I know that I mentioned a few artists that I feel like that your music kind of remind me of. Are there any that you would say have inspired your sound? Did I hit the nail on the head with anybody?
Yeah, I would say when people ask me my favorite artists, like if I had to give them a hip hop list, in no particular order. Well, first of all, before I get to my hip hop list, Marvin Gaye is my favorite artist of all time, period. Okay. So he's like by himself. But if I had to give a hip hop list, it would be Common, Jay-Z, Kid Cudi, Andre 3000, and Kanye. Okay. So that's my top 5. And then when you go outside of hip hop, I love Mind Design, Tori Umar, Hiatus Coyote, Erykah Badu, a bunch of people. But yeah, you definitely. I like Childish Gambino too. But yeah, I would say those people or people who sound like them definitely inspire me. One of my favorite artists right now, I do not know her. She's not super huge, but she's definitely doing her thing. Right now, her name is Liv, Liv.E. She does like very soulful R&B over kind of like lo-fi beats. She's really dope. Yeah.
Liv.E. I'm gonna look that up. That sounds dope. Love me some lo-fi. Love me some soul. Sounds like a good.
She's dope.
Do you have anybody that would be like your dream collaboration to work with on a song?
I have a few of them. A couple of them are dead. So Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield, and then for people who are alive, Toro Umar. Do you know who Toro is? He's from the Bay, right?
I don't know.
He does this genre called chill wave. But he's really dope. Mind Design. Anybody in my top 5, but also Pharrell.
Pharrell,
like, yeah. Or who's in my top 10. I'm making it seem like I got this list. It's an imaginary list. But Missy Elliott. I love Missy Elliott.
Dope.
Yeah.
I really like everybody you just said. Like, I vibe with your taste a lot. Tell me about like your move to LA. So I know like you're from Milwaukee originally, right?
Yeah, I'm from Milwaukee.
So when did you come out to California?
January 19th, 2015. The worst day of my life. No. I came out here with a friend of mine. So what I did was I was studying my undergraduate in arts management. And so to complete my degree, people in my curriculum, what you would do is you would go out in the world and do something in the art. So a lot of people will use this as their time to study abroad. And I had already been to London. I took like a theater in London trip. It's like a 3-week trip. And I was like, I want to do my externship somewhere I want to live, so that when school is over, I already live there. So it was between Miami, because I knew this guy in Miami who was kind of be like my manager, and we shot a music video together. We had this rapport, but I couldn't or at least at the time, I didn't find an externship in Miami. I found one in LA. I don't know if you're gonna remember this, but in 2011, I think it was this video that went viral of strangers kissing. It's like a black and white video, and I think you might
I
be.
think
Are
I
you
like
frozen?
vaguely.
Oh no,
Oh,
there you go.
am I back?
Yeah.
I think I vaguely remember
Yeah, it's a
something
black
like
and white
that.
video. Yeah, people were kissing. They had different like demographics. They had
Yeah.
like a gay couple, old couple, young couples, and these were people who didn't know each other. They came to a studio, and then they were kissing people on camera for the first time. And I remember seeing it on my timeline. I was a senior in college, and I was like, "Oh, this is dope." And then 2 days later, I found out it was an ad for a clothing brand, and I was like, "Oh, this is dope." So I hit them up. I didn't think they would respond because I saw the article about how sales increased by like 300% or something. This video was just really successful. So I hit them up and I sent them a link of something I did that was similar, like a promo video for like a clothing brand I had started. And then they surprisingly hit me back and was like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you as an intern." So I ended up doing that. But when I moved to LA, I found out it was a small company. They just got big off of this ad. There's the owner lived in New York, and then the operations manager lived in LA, and then she had an assistant, and that was the whole team. And so I was an intern. I did that for like 6 months, and then that's how I completed my BA in arts management. And then at that point, I had already had like a place to stay. Got my feet wet in LA a little bit, and so I stayed. So yeah, I've been here since then, January 2015.
Wow. Okay. So almost 10 years.
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, this year made 7. Yeah.
Cool. Cool that you have a degree in arts management. I was actually thinking about so in listening to your music, I was watching several of your music videos. They all kind of have like an old school vibe to them, which I really like.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering like if you can talk about like your inspiration in terms of like video concepts and stuff like that, because like as I'm watching them, they do kind of feel like a blast from the past, but like in a modern way, which I really like. And then I also know that you had like a documentary out as well.
Yeah, I did a 2019. I put an album. If you're talking about this, I put an album out called Avery. It's named after my late grandmother. That was her last name, and so while I made the album, I documented the studio portions, and then I have like a family portion where I went back home to Milwaukee, and we're like all eating and with my family and stuff like that. So yeah.
It's I feel like with you, like artists expands beyond music. Like there seems to be like a few different avenues that you're pursuing within art, which I think is really cool.
No, yeah. Right now, I would say the most is like music, marketing, and then film. So my girlfriend is a film student, or she graduated already. Can she still be a film student? Anyways, she is a
forever
a
student of life.
Yeah. She's a film person, and so she loves film. And so I've always been into it, but just on like a music video level. I've done a couple short films before I met her, but since knowing her and being with her, my love for film has grown, and I've learned a lot. 2 years ago now, almost, we shot our own web show. We're releasing slowly. Episode 1 of it is out. It's called West Side, the series, which is a series that is inspired by one of my songs called West Side. So yeah, I love film. I'm working on a new album right now. It's going to also come with a documentary. I think documenting stuff is really important, especially when you become bigger and like people can go back and see the process.
Yeah, I think that's dope. I feel like artists have kind of been incorporating that more and more over the past, I'd say like decade. it was really brought to my attention, I feel like, with like Beyonce, because you'd go to her concerts and then she'd have like home footage or like, you know, never before seen things that like you wouldn't really see if you didn't go to her shows, and she incorporated that into her concerts, and then that also turned into her making like visual albums. Like Lemonade, for instance, is like a visual album, right? So like I feel like I've definitely seen more and more artists incorporate film. So I thought that was really dope, because I haven't personally seen that too much on like the independent side. And I think that's really cool. I would even say it sets you apart from other artists for sure.
No, yeah. What I like to say to myself to encourage myself when I'm down about where I am, I say like, when I get to the point where more people are listening, the amount of people that I want, they'll have so much to go back to. They'll be like, I don't know how much, if you're a Kanye fan, but on one of his songs, on one of his songs, she was like, "You ain't got no Kanye in Serato." So I want people to go back and be like, "Oh my, yo, he did this and this didn't do it. Then he did this and this didn't do it. Then he have 10 of these. They all jam, and like this didn't do it." You know, so people have so much material to go back to and be like, "This is fire. This is fire." Like last year, one of my favorite projects is called Jazz Cavities 2. And there's a short film that came with it. And it consists of claymation, animation, and real life, which is also on YouTube too. So it's like one of my favorite. And it was inspired by, I don't know if you listen to Denzel Curry.
I have not.
Denzel Curry is dope. He did this project with this producer called Kenny Beats. And the idea was his album had leaked. And so they had to go into the computer to find the missing files. So it would no longer be leaked. And it's like, starts off with real life and then the rest of it is all animated. And I got inspired by that. And then I was like, I want to add my own spin on it. So the first minute of the short film is claymation. But anyways, yeah.
That's really cool. Awesome. So I'm assuming that being an artist is your full-time gig right now.
Oh yeah. Since December 2020, I've been doing music full time and other things in between, like freelance work. What I had to realize is that it's funny because I did a presentation back in my high school a couple months ago, talking about being DIY, and I turned it into like abbreviation. But the I was ingenuity and finding out the things you're willing to do and you won't do. So, for example, like I make money from music, from merch, from performing, a little bit from like streams and stuff like that. But I'll cat sit, or I'll do graphics for someone. Or my girlfriend and I, we started our own coffee shop. So our own coffee shop thrift store that we do once a month here in LA. So I was a barista before, so I quit that job to start my own coffee shop. So just doing different things. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, 100% full-time now, which makes it easier to, when people ask me to do things or like to perform and they say free or no money, it makes it that much easier for me to be like, I can't do that because this is how I eat 100% now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, knowing your worth, and you ain't free. So that's kind of incredible that you pivoted to 100% being a full-time artist in December 2020, because 2020 was like, what was 2020?
No, yeah.
Especially for the entertainment industry, with like events being canceled or postponed, or you couldn't gather together, or like, you know, in that sense, like shows being completely taken off the map. That's pretty cool that you were able to convert then.
No, yeah, I had a plan in the top of 2020. I was going to quit my job in August 2020, but that was before March happened. And so March pushed it back a little bit. And to be completely transparent, which I feel like maybe a lot of us are, the government was helping me out a little bit. Now it's non-existent. So it's 100% now, like figuring out, okay, how much. And what I used to do before I quit is what I realized is that, like, okay, how much money was I making as a barista every month? Anyway, it wasn't that much. It was like $2,000. So now I'll just figure out how to make $1,500 every month off music and get creative. And so what I realized is that if I can make what I was making there, then I'm doing what I love for a living. Maybe not at the level I want it to be right now, but it's not like I need millions of dollars right now. Everything with expenses is between $1,500 and $2,000. I can figure out how to make that every month. So yeah.
Right. What advice would you have for, other artists on the come up who are looking to make money full time from their music like you're able to?
I would encourage them to write down a list of stuff that they're good at. So like me, I like to think that I'm very like creative. And so sometimes people hit me up. I mean, I don't necessarily charge people for this yet, but it's just an idea. People like, yo, what should I do for this? It can help me come up with an idea for a music video, and just figure out things that I'm good at. Like, I love coffee and I love making it. I just didn't like doing it on somebody telling me, you got to be here on Tuesday at this time. So like, okay, I'll start my own where I'll do it once a month. And eventually I'll probably bump it up to twice a month. But okay, that's something I know how to do. I know how to make graphics. I got a couple clients that I make graphics for, a few projects every month. What else do I do? I've been on the road a lot these last 2 months. So these last 2 months I've played like 15, 16 shows. So a bulk of the money has been coming from that, and then some of it from streams. So, but what I would do is figure out the things they're good at. And if you want to quit your job, then come up with a number you want to save, and then save that number and then quit. And I got this plan from my friend. She's a fashion designer. And what she told me what she would do is she would, so for a whole year, for the first 6 months of a year, she would like work really hard, work 2-3 jobs. And then the second half of the year, she would quit them and then take all the money to do what she loved, making things. But then she would do it all over again the next year. So I took that and tweaked it, and it's like, hey, once I quit, I don't want to come back. So I'm gonna save a little bit, and I didn't save that. I didn't even hit my goal. I was actually trying to save like $3,500, and I think I saved $2,400. But I created a little safety net for myself, so that when I quit, like I at least had a couple months of rent ahead of me, and then from there, just, okay, what am I good at? What can I do to make money? I've made like music for podcast episodes. I've made a radio ID for a podcast. Just doing a bunch of different creative stuff. Yeah.
For sure. Might have to talk to you about that music for podcast, because I'm starting a podcast. We might have to talk after this.
No, I'm with it.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I think that having people, the advice of having people play into their strengths, like what are you good at? In order to like, make ends meet and whatnot, and still be able to like make your own schedule and do what you love by making music. I think that's great advice. Would you say that like networking has been a big part of like you being successful since your move to LA? I mean, relationships in the music industry are everything. So curious as to how big that's played in your success.
No, it is. I think when I first moved here, I had a very skewed view on networking, because to me, sometimes networking feels nasty. Because I've been around people who are like, I don't know, I don't want to disrespect their strategy, but just for lack of a better word, just thirsty. And you can like feel it. And I never wanted to be that way. But what I slowly realized is that like, if I'm not doing that, then somebody else is doing it. So for example, let's say you working on something and you're working on a short film, and Tom is hitting you up every week, just checking in with you. And I just see you every once in a while, but we both do the same thing. When you're thinking of a position to be filled that we both do, you might think of Tom first because Tom is on your mind more. He's checking in more. He's making sure he's at the events that you're at. And so that's what I had to realize. And to be honest, I'm still not the best at it, but I've been slowly just wanting to go out more to shows and meet people. But what I also realized as a barista, I worked at a pretty cool coffee shop. And in the area I worked at, a lot of people are like people who work in film and they're writers. And I've built a network that way. And what I realized was a friend of mine told me to do something that I still haven't done yet, but I thought about it and I still need to do it. He was like, yo, write down all the people you think that are influential, who are fond of you, that could help you. And I just thought about that. And I was like, I know and just figuring out how to work, how to put the pieces where they need to be if I'm working on something. So I think sometimes I was, until recently, I was downplaying my own network. But it's like, oh, I know this person who throws shows at the Novo. I know this person who's a painter who has 50,000 followers and I do graphics for them. I know this person. So just figuring out when to put those pieces to work. I think a lot of times I don't like the idea of feeling like I'm only doing something so for you to do something for me.
Right.
I just don't like that. I'd rather it be genuine. But yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, you don't want to come off as like opportunistic or like just talking to somebody to see what they can do for you, which I 100% get. I saw a interview with Zendaya. She was talking to Issa Rae, and Issa Rae was talking about small talk and how, like Zendaya was saying that she goes to these industry events and she's really bad at small talk because, she may not really want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But she had to get good at it because she realized that, learning little things about people or whatever, like, especially if you're going to see them over and over again because y'all frequent the same circles, it can turn into a genuine relationship after a few interactions. Like, and as you get to know somebody and you remember that like their dog's name is this, or like they were working on this project the last time you saw them, and you can bring up those things and talk about those things, that you can also tell them what you're up to. And that like when the opportunity does come up, maybe on their side, and they're like, didn't you tell me that you're into this? Because actually I got a meeting with so-and-so next week and they're looking for somebody who could do X, Y, and Z. And maybe they'll mention your name when they're in that room. So I think that it can definitely, I get the idea of it kind of starting off as like fake or like what can someone do for you? The way I kind of approach it is like looking at like, yeah, I want something from this person. I'm strategic with it, but I also think of like, what's the value that I can offer them?
Yeah.
Which kind of helps. But yeah, I think it could definitely turn into a genuine relationship. May not start out that way.
I think so too. One thing you said too, it really only takes a few interactions. Like you be around them a couple times and they like you, and that's it. And it's like they know you. I could have made a latte for you twice, and I was just really nice to you those 2 times. And now because we've talked in between me making your drink, I make music. And so now you like, no, I'm looking for music for, do you make this? So it's just like, it don't even like you gotta know them forever. It's just like, I made her a latte twice. And now we have this rapport. So that's a good way to look at it.
Exactly. And sometimes those interactions don't turn into anything. And sometimes that's the story you tell 20 years from now when someone asks you how you got your big break. And you're like, well, I made a latte for so-and-so. And then we got to talking. And then she put me in here. And we've been friends ever since. So you never know. You never know. What would you say is the most fulfilling part of being an artist?
I would just say doing what I love, and now being in the space where I get to do it full time, the most fulfilling part is my time. Is that I get to create my own schedule. Like for me today, if I don't get to finish something, I might be like, damn, I wish I could have finished that, but I could do it tomorrow now. It's not like, oh, I can't actually do it tomorrow because I got to work this shift. And then I know when I come back, I'm going to be tired. And then I ain't going to really be able to, do it until a couple of days. So just my time and me being able to be the person that is in complete control outside of God, but be complete control over like, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to work on type of thing. So that's my favorite thing right now as far as being a full-time artist, but just in general, it's a toss-up between making the music and performing it. But those are my two favorite things.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists would agree with you that shows are like one of their favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And I go to a lot of concerts, so as a fan, I understand. Yeah, I've probably been to like 10 concerts this year, and we're just in April. So actually, I was at a concert 2 days ago. Coffee. Are you familiar with Coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was really good. She was an SF. Speaking of which, I know we talked about it a little bit before I started recording, but like, tell me about your recent show. I know you were up here a couple days ago.
I was in East Bay. Is East Bay Oakland, or those are two different?
So the East Bay is made up of several cities on this side of the Bay Bridge. So you have Oakland, Berkeley, Hayward, Richmond, San Leandro, all that's on the East Bay side. The South Bay would be like San Jose or whatever. So like, yeah. So Oakland is in the East Bay.
Okay.
Of the Bay Area.
Okay. All right. I was talking to somebody and they kind of was using it synonymously. But when I was on the BART looking at the map, it had like it sectioned off as its own. Oakland, East Bay. But anyways, I played a show in San Francisco yesterday. I don't know when this is coming out, so I guess it don't really, days don't really matter. But
coming out next Friday.
Okay. I played a show in San Francisco, and then a few days ago, before that, I played a show in East Bay, and it was dope. These are intimate shows. It's an org called So Far Sounds. They throw a bunch of dope shows. So whenever I travel, so I really was in Seaside, California, which is like a couple hours away from Oakland, San Francisco area. My mom had throat surgery, so I was with her for 2 weeks while she was recovering. Everything went well. By the fourth day, thank you. By the fourth day, she was acting like she was back to normal and stuff like that. So I stayed for, a couple weeks, and then while I was out there, I was like, oh, I should try to throw these, try to link in, try to lock in some So Far Sound shows. So that's what I did, and it's a dope concert series organization. They're around the world. There's usually 3 artists that play. You get a 20-minute set. They compensate you. You can also make more money from merch depending on how much you bring. And it's just a dope vibe, and the crowd is very attentive because they're there to listen to the music. I think I was telling you before, as an audience member, you don't even know who's playing. You may know one person because that's the person you bought the ticket for, but the other 2 acts, you don't know. And usually they try to mix the genres too, if they can. So, yeah, I was just there playing a couple of those shows.
Cool. Awesome. Tell me one thing you love about having your music on indie music streams.
For me personally, I like, because there's a couple things that I don't have on Spotify, Apple Music. It was just kind of living on SoundCloud. And so a lot of times people who use the other platforms will be like, yo, when are you gonna put this up on this? And so now there's officially a space where, there's releases that you could get on stuff, but there's also some from like 2015 to 2017, before I started putting music on other streaming platforms, there's like a handful of projects that you can have in this one space. So I like that for the, like, as an Emmitt James fan, but as an artist, I think the payout system is you know, is a pretty dope idea. Just like you get what you bring in, and there's no cuts or nothing like that. So I think it's dope.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. Tell the people where they could find you.
You can't find me. Don't look for me. No. First of all, thanks for having me. It was also dope chatting with you. I'm Emmitt James. EmmittJames.com is my website. You'll see shows, merch there. And then I'm on Facebook. The one I'm most active on is Instagram. So you can follow me there. It's Emmitt, EMMITT_James. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much. People can also obviously stream your music on indiemusicstreams.com. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
I met Shorty on the